Biming Plaza, in the sky. Countless students gazed up at the enormous light screen slowly dissipating above, their faces still filled with excitement and exhilaration. The battle between Mu Chen and Gu Tianyan had been nothing short of breathtaking. The final outcome was even more unimaginable. Mu Chen, a mere freshman, had secured victory, bringing the last match to an abrupt conclusion. Many marveled at this turn of events. Over the years, while Northern Heaven's Spiritual Academy had produced its fair share of prodigies, there had been few like Mu Chen, someone who, as a freshman, had achieved such dazzling success. Everyone understood that from this moment on, Mu Chen's reputation in Northern Heaven's Spiritual Academy would likely rival that of Shen, Zongxing, and Li Xianong. With this battle, he had firmly cemented his status as one of the Academy's top figures, leaving no room for doubt. Whoosh! Whoosh! As countless students remained in awe, the sky suddenly distorted. A vast number of figures burst forth, covering the sky like a swarm. These individuals were shrouded in radiant light, exuding immense spiritual energy fluctuations. Swish! The moment they emerged, they wasted no time, streaking across the sky in beams of light toward various directions. They needed to find a place to cultivate immediately and absorb the vast spiritual energy that had fused into their bodies during the spirit light baptism. Once they completed this process, their strength would experience a significant breakthrough. On Biming Plaza, many students gazed enviously at these figures streaking through the sky like locusts. They understood that once these individuals fully refined the spiritual energy from the baptism, their power would surge tremendously. At that point, the overall strength of the Academy's students might rise to an entirely new level. As the sky was filled with dazzling figures, for figures moved at a much more unhurried pace. They soon came to a stop in midair, immediately drawing countless gazes. It's Mu Chen, Shen Zongxing, and the others. Huh? Didn't they receive a spirit light baptism? Someone asked in confusion. Unlike the others, Mu Chen and his group were not glowing with spiritual light, nor did they radiate overwhelming spiritual energy. You idiot! They were the most outstanding participants in the hunting war. How could they receive an ordinary spirit light baptism? There are different levels of spirit light baptism? A freshman asked in confusion. Of course. The standard baptism occurs the moment they leave the spiritual light realm. The spiritual light they obtained automatically transforms into spiritual energy and merges into their bodies. While this energy is pure, a large portion of it dissipates during absorption, leaving only around 60% that can actually be refined. But what Mu Chen and the others receive is different. It's said that the elders of the Academy personally conduct their spirit light baptism. That kind of treatment is far superior to the ordinary one. I see. Mu Chen hovered in the sky, gazing at the vast, seemingly endless sea of people in Biming Plaza. He exhaled in relief. Being back in the outside world was indeed more comfortable. Although the spiritual light realm was rich in spiritual energy, it still felt like something was missing. You four should return and rest first. 3 days from now, report to the punishment hall for your spirit light baptism. A voice echoed from above. 2 white-haired elders had appeared, looking at Mu Chen and the others. Understood. Mu Chen and his group nodded in acknowledgement. Mu Chen, you were the only one who really fought this time. Go back and rest. We'll see you in 3 days at the punishment hall, Shen Zongxing said with a grin. This battle had turned out quite unexpectedly. Originally, he and Li Xianong had anticipated a tough fight, but in the end, it was Mu Chen who bore the brunt of it while they barely had to lift a finger before the match was over. Mu Chen simply smiled. His face was pale, and exhaustion was evident. His body was racked with pain, making it difficult even to speak. All he wanted now was to return and rest as soon as possible. I'll take him back first. Luo Li, seeing Mu Chen's weakened state, looked at him with a trace of concern. Supporting him gently, she spoke softly to Shen Zongxing and Li Xianong before turning into a streak of light and swiftly departing with Mu Chen. Li Xianong watched them disappear into the distance, momentarily lost in thought, his expression complicated. You like her, don't you? Shen Zongxing smirked knowingly. He had noticed how Li Xianong paid particular attention to Luo Li. Looking at how deeply they care for each other, it seems you have no chance, Shin Songxing said with some sympathy. The girl named Luo Li was indeed outstanding, but her eyes were always fixed on Mu Chan. She hardly even glanced at the two of them. Clearly, she was caught in the web of love. Li Xiantong shot a cold glare at Shan Songxing. This guy just loved to rub salt in other people's wounds. Forget it. There's no point in hanging yourself on just one tree. After we receive the spirit light baptism, let's take the bounty mission to hunt the devil dragon child again. This time, we'll team up and get rid of that guy together. Shan Songxing patted Li Xuantong's shoulder, a cold glint flickering in his eyes. In the past 2 years, the number of students from Northern Song Spiritual Academy who have died at the hands of the devil dragon child has probably reached 3 digits. Li Xiantong furrowed his brow, a cold gleam flashing in his eyes. Then he whispered, I've heard that the Dragon Demon Palace has been getting more and more rampant on the North Song continent. These things, let the headmaster and the others worry about. When it comes to confrontations, they'll deal with the Dragon Demon Palace's old dogs. But someone like the Devil Dragon Child, we need to handle. Otherwise, people will say our students from Northern Song Spiritual Academy are useless. Shin Songxing said calmly. How about it? Want to team up for the hunt? Li Xiantong pondered for a moment, then nodded slightly. All right, let's join forces. The Devil Dragon Child deserves to die. Haha, sounds good. Shin Songxing laughed heartily, slapped Li Xiantong on the shoulder, and said no more. His figure flashed, heading quickly into the depths of Northern Song Spiritual Academy. Li Xiantong, seeing this, also moved swiftly toward the mountain where he resided. As the crowd dispersed in the sky, the numerous students on Baiming Plaza left reluctantly. They looked towards the direction of the heavenly ranking. Perhaps, in just a few short days, the heavenly ranking would experience some earth-shattering changes. Mu Chan and the others headed straight back to the small pavilion in the freshman district. As soon as they entered the room, Mu Chen's already pale face grew even paler, and a mouthful of blood could not be suppressed as it sprayed out. The real injury wasn't caused by ancient heavenly flame, but by the black divine thunder inside him. The power of that thunder was so terrifying that it was far beyond what Mu Chen could control at his current level. Fortunately, he had trained in the thunder god body, so he had gained some strength. Otherwise, the price would have been too great. Luo Li's face changed when she saw the extent of Mu Chen's injuries. She hurriedly helped him into the room, and Mu Chen sat weakly on the bed, waving his hand at her feebly. I'm fine. I've already pulled through. I just need some rest to recover. You're too reckless, Luo Li said, her face showing a touch of anger. Mu Chen's actions were downright foolish. The black divine thunder was so powerful that even a strong spiritual beast like the Nine Nether Sparrow feared it. But Mu Chen had dared to detonate it within his own body. Such behavior was essentially suicidal. Luo Li had refrained from saying anything earlier when they were outside, but now, she couldn't help but feel both distressed and angry. I don't have much to lose without the spirit light baptism. Besides, I didn't come all the way to Northern Song Spiritual Academy just to watch you make it up to me. Luo Li bit her red lips as she spoke. Seeing the girl genuinely upset, Mu Chen couldn't help but shrug and reached out to grab Luo Li's delicate hand. However, the girl, with a slight blush in her eyes, avoided his grasp. Mu Chen chuckled, quickly catching her small hand and holding it tightly, not allowing her to break free. Then, with a gentle pull, he embraced her into his arms. The beautiful girl in his arms struggled for a moment, but could not break free. She could only let out a soft hum, turning her face away, as if to show that she wouldn't forgive his recklessness so easily. Mu Chen smiled at the stunning face with a hint of anger and affection. Then, in the midst of Luo Li's panicked expression, he lowered his head and kissed her lips, not waiting for her to react. The girl's small hands lightly hammered his chest, but soon her body softened like a wave, her silvery hair spilling over the bed. They kissed for a long time. Only after a long while did Mu Chen reluctantly pull away, gazing down at the girl's flushed face with a smile. He softly said, "Sorry, I made you worry, but I'm not trying to make up for anything. I just think that if I can't even overcome something like this, how can I protect you in the future?" Luo Li's body stiffened slightly as she gazed into Mu Chen's gentle black eyes. I fought tooth and nail to win back the spirit light baptism, and you're still angry with me. Don't you think I deserve some compensation? Mu Chen said with a grin. Compensation? Luo Li felt uneasy when she saw the look in Mu Chen's eyes, squirming a little. Mu Chen smiled, but his hand quietly slid down, slipping inside her soft clothing and brushing against her delicate, cool skin, like jade. Luo Li's body instantly froze, her face flushed bright red. In her clear, glazed eyes, a hint of panic danced like a startled fawn. Mu Chen's hand slipped inside Luo Li's dress, grasping her slender waist. Just as Luo Li was about to shyly push him away, she noticed that Mu Chen had stopped moving. She tilted her head slightly and saw him pressed against her, his eyes closed tightly, his breathing weak and tired. He had actually fallen asleep at that moment. Luo Li was both amused and helpless. After a moment of hesitation, she gently wrapped her jade arm around Mu Chen, pulling him into her embrace. She softly kissed his lips and gazed at his handsome face with tender affection. Her small hand gently caressed Mu Chen's forehead as she murmured, "Mu Chen, don't worry. I won't let anyone harm you. I'll protect you." The next day, when Mu Chen woke up from his deep sleep, he immediately felt the exhaustion in his body vanish. The intense pain that had tormented him before had also dissipated much more than the day before. His meridians once again flowed with spiritual energy, soothing the numerous injuries caused by the black god thunder. Mu Chen scanned his body with his spiritual sense. He saw that some of his meridians were charred black, clearly showing signs of severe damage. Fortunately, he had previously cultivated the thunder god body, which made him a bit stronger. Otherwise, if his meridians had shattered, things could have gotten troublesome. After 2 or 3 days of rest, I should be fully recovered, Mu Chen muttered to himself. As he moved his body, he suddenly felt something soft pressing against him. Looking down, he saw Luo Li nestled in his arms, sleeping soundly. He couldn't help but smile, leaned down, and gently kissed her smooth forehead. Quietly, he got out of bed and slipped out of the room. Outside the pavilion, the warm sunlight bathed his face, making Mu Chen's eyes squint in comfort. His tensed body relaxed ever so slightly. In the distance, the sounds of sparring and training echoed. Birds flew across the clear blue sky, their cheerful calls filling the Northern Song Spiritual Academy with vibrant energy. Mu Chen strolled forward, his spiritual sense meditating in his qi si. As he inhaled and exhaled, he drew in the surrounding spiritual energy and refined it within his body, helping to replenish the energy that had been exhausted. The energy began to flow smoothly through his meridians, gradually healing the internal injuries. Mu Chen enjoyed this rare moment of relaxation and laziness. Following the small path, he eventually arrived at the lake square where new students usually trained. There, many members of the Luo God Society were already practicing and sparring. Brother Mu. As soon as Mu Chen appeared, all eyes were immediately drawn to him. The youthful faces lit up with joy and admiration. Mu Chen waved at them, then sat down on a stone platform at the edge of the square. He closed his eyes slightly, absorbing the spiritual energy around him. Your recovery is really impressive. Just 1 day, and you're already bouncing around. A light laugh came from beside him. Mu Chen opened his eyes and saw Yi Qingling smiling at him. Do you want to see me lying down some more? Mu Chen replied with a smile. Yi Qingling sat down beside him, laughing. Congratulations! You're now the true top figure in our Northern Song Spiritual Academy. You've even surpassed the Crane Demon. You don't know, after the hunting war ended, the people from the Demon Gate avoid us now. They no longer act so arrogantly. Now, you're a big name in our academy, just as much as Shen Songxing and Li Xianong. I'd rather enjoy a little peace. Mu Chen smiled helplessly. Peace might be hard to come by now, Yi Qingling grinned. Then with a flick of her hand, a scroll of parchment appeared and she handed it to Mu Chen. Since the hunting war ended, the heavenly ranking has been constantly changing. And you, well, you're now ranked 3rd, just behind Shen Songxing and Li Xianong. Mu Chen took the scroll, unfolding it. The 4th position was taken by the Crane Demon, with Su Xian ranking 5th, Zhao Qingshan 6th, and Su Huang dropping from 5th to 7th. The previous top 10 of the heavenly ranking had changed quite a bit, with only the top 2 staying the same. After the 10th spot, many unfamiliar names appeared, clearly indicating that these were newcomers who had emerged as dark horses from the hunting war. To his surprise, Mu Chen found that Luoli had taken the 10th spot. Although this girl rarely took action, her partnership with him in slaying the Spirit King seemed to have boosted her ranking a bit. Heavenly ranking 3rd place. Mu Chen smiled, his expression calm, not feeling overly elated. Ah, we both entered the Northern Song Spiritual Academy together, and now you've become the 3rd most famous figure on the heavenly ranking while we're still slowly climbing, Yi Qingling said with a hint of emotion. When they first met in the Northern Song realm, Mu Chen hadn't even reached the Divine Soul stage, had he? But in less than a year, he had leapt to become the 3rd strongest on the heavenly ranking. Comparing oneself to others really can be frustrating. Mu Chen smiled, choosing not to dwell on this topic, and asked, "What about Xun'er? I haven't seen her in a while." "That little girl's quite lucky. A while ago, she was wandering around the academy and happened to meet an elder from the Northern Song Spiritual Academy, a master of spirit arrays. This elder saw her excellent talent and took her under their wing to teach her spirit arrays," Yi Qingling explained. "A spirit array master?" Mu Chen's eyes sharpened. Spirit array masters were divided into 9 levels, but in reality, only those at level 6 and above could truly be called spirit array masters. Crossing the threshold from level 5 to level 6 was akin to the terrifying gap between the heaven-reaching stage and the supreme stage. Mu Chen had an extraordinary talent for spirit arrays. From being a level 1 spirit array master to reaching level 4, his progress had been smooth. Yet, even with such a talent, he still wouldn't dare claim that he could easily cross that gap and become a true spirit array master. Spirit array masters were extremely rare, even in the Northern Song Spiritual Academy. The fact that Xun'er had been taken in by such a master was a bit of an opportunity that Mu Chen felt envious of. Although Xun'er had a high talent for spirit arrays, Mu Chen wasn't surprised she was being taken under someone's wing. However, his own talent was no less than hers, and yet no elder had shown interest in him. It seemed that being cute had its advantages. According to Xun'er, this elder has a very peculiar temperament. They don't just look at talent when choosing their disciples. If they don't like you, no matter how talented you are, they won't bother with you. Yi Qingling continued, noticing Mu Chen's expression and laughing. Mu Chen smiled wryly. With his current status as a level 4 spirit array master, his progress had begun to slow down. There were many states of spirit arrays he was still unclear about, and he didn't know how to fully comprehend them. For example, he had just begun to touch on the heart-eye state. As a level 4 spirit array master, he shouldn't have been able to arrange a level 5 array. But with the strange effects of the heart-eye state, he could make up for the gap. The issue was that Mu Chen was only in the preliminary stages of the heart-eye state. It was unreliable at times. If it failed during a crucial battle, he might be in serious trouble. If he could receive guidance from a true spirit array master, he might be able to master the heart-eye state. But such an opportunity wasn't easy to come by. Spirit array masters held high positions in the Northern Song Spiritual Academy. If they didn't want to guide you, no amount of spirit value could convince them. "I'll talk to Xun'er and ask her to mention that your spirit array talent is even stronger than hers. I'm sure the elder won't refuse," Yi Qingling said seriously, seeing the change in Mu Chen's expression. "Thanks a lot." Mu Chen nodded, not refusing. He truly needed this. Spirit array cultivation wasn't like cultivating spiritual power. The information involved was far too complex. Yi Qingling waved her hand. When she saw the faint pallor still lingering on Mu Chen's face, she decided not to disturb him any further. After a brief conversation, she turned and left. Mu Chen watched Yi Qingling's retreating figure and temporarily set aside his focus on spiritual array cultivation. For now, he needed to fully recover from his injuries and prepare for the spirit light baptism at the punishment hall 3 days later. Over the next 2 days, the news of Mu Chen rising to 3rd place on the heavenly ranking spread like wildfire throughout the Northern Desolation Spiritual Academy. However, he paid no attention to the commotion. He didn't step out of the freshman district and cut off all outside distractions. During this period of quiet recuperation, Mu Chen's injuries gradually healed. Though his meridians still bore some lingering damage, it would take time to fully recover. No need to rush. By the third day, Mu Chen's complexion had returned to normal. The pallor on his face had completely disappeared, and inside his body, a powerful flow of spiritual energy surged, subtly advancing in strength. On the roof of a small pavilion, Mu Chen stretched lazily. His bones cracked and popped like firecrackers. The sensation of relief was so intense that he couldn't help but let out a satisfied sigh. "It looks like you've recovered quite well," a satisfied voice came from behind him. It was Luoli. Now, Mu Chen seemed truly full of life again, and the weakness he had shown just 3 days ago, when even the slightest touch could bring him down, had left Luoli feeling particularly tender-hearted. "I'm almost there," Mu Chen nodded. Then, looking towards the Northern Desolation Spiritual Academy, he said, "Let's go. We should head to the punishment hall. I'm going to enjoy that spirit light baptism that I nearly risked my life for." Luoli gave a slight nod, a hint of curiosity in her eyes about the spirit light baptism. Mu Chen reached out and grabbed her delicate hand, giving it a playful squeeze. With a grin, he pulled her along, and the two of them shot towards the punishment hall, moving like two streaks of light through the academy. The punishment hall was located within the inner region of the Northern Desolation Spiritual Academy. It held an extremely high position and considerable power within the academy because most of the academy's security and defense were controlled by the punishment hall. Most of the members of the punishment hall were former graduates who had chosen to stay on at the academy. Year after year, fresh blood was continuously injected into the hall. Of course, once someone joined the punishment hall, they could no longer be called students, nor could they participate in the competitive activities of the student body. For this reason, it was extremely rare for ordinary students to encounter punishment hall members. Moreover, once someone became a member of the punishment hall, the tasks they were assigned were far more dangerous. This was no longer a sheltered ivory tower. The rules were harsher because the hall's primary mission was to defend the Northern Desolation Spiritual Academy. The enemies they faced were no longer just senior or junior students, but also the various hostile forces on the North Tsang continent, both known and hidden. Compared to the peaceful academy, the atmosphere inside the punishment hall was undoubtedly more filled with a cold, iron-blooded aura. In the inner region, the youthful energy of the outside world was completely absent. Even the sky appeared darker. Towering halls stood atop the mountains, and teams of armored members occasionally passed overhead, moving with an air of cold, killing intent. The imposing aura was far beyond what the ordinary students of the Northern Desolation Spiritual Academy could compare to. Mu Chen and Luoli marveled at the scene before them. This was the true force that protected the academy. Although the Northern Desolation Spiritual Academy was a giant on the North Tsang continent, it was not without enemies capable of challenging its authority. On this continent, teeming with powerful beings, there were still several strong forces lurking in the shadows, waiting for their chance. The punishment hall's role was to keep those forces in check. Mu Chen and Luoli entered the area without obstruction. It was clear that the punishment hall had already received notice of their arrival. After a brief observation, they made their way toward a distant, towering peak. Atop that peak stood a massive black hall, standing still like a cold, fierce beast. It exuded an eerie, oppressive aura, as if it were silently awaiting its prey. In front of the hall was a large black stone plaza, gleaming with a faint, icy sheen. Mu Chen's gaze swept over Lin Zhang and the others, before settling on the front of the group. There, a middle-aged man in a black robe stood with his hands clasped behind his back. His face was cold and stern. As his eyes scanned the room, an icy aura seemed to radiate from him, freezing the very air around them. He stood there without speaking, but an invisible pressure enveloped the space. Under that pressure, even someone as proud as Shin Zongxing became docile. Mu Chen couldn't help but glance at the middle-aged man in the black robe with a sense of awe. The man's strength was truly terrifying. "Sorry we're late," Mu Chen said, stepping forward with Luoli, cupping his hands in greeting. "No worries, it hasn't started yet," Lin Zhang said with a smile, waving his hand. Then, he pointed to the middle-aged man in black and added, "This is the hall master of the punishment hall, MOU, who is also one of the heavenly seat elders of our Northern Desolation Spiritual Academy." Chen was slightly surprised. Now that he had gained some understanding of the high-ranking figures in the Northern Desolation Spiritual Academy, he realized there were 5 heavenly seat elders. During the freshman competition, Elder Zhu Tian had seemed to be one of them, and now, it seemed the man before him was another. These were the most powerful figures in the academy. Chen greets Hall Master MOU, Chen said, bowing slightly and cupping his hands. "You're the one who defeated Gu Tianyan, the freshman Chen?" MOU's eyes, gleaming with a mysterious light, fixed on Chen. His gaze was sharp, as if trying to see through him. "It was just a matter of Gu Sr. being polite," Chen replied, shaking his head. "If we continued fighting, I wouldn't have had the strength to carry on." His words were the truth. Had Gu Tianyan kept going, the best Chen could have done was tie, but defeating him would have been impossible. The gap between the heaven-reaching stage and the heaven transformation stage was just too vast, no matter how many tricks he had up his sleeve. "That kid knows how to be polite?" MOU chuckled and glanced at the awkward-looking Gu Tianyan beside him. "He's usually so arrogant. If you could humble him, then it's clear you have some skill." Chen could only smile awkwardly. "Still, you've done well. To reach this point as a freshman, you're the first to do so in years. I don't think even Shan Songxing managed that when he was new," MOU said, his appreciation for Chen clear in his voice. Shan Songxing chuckled at that. When he was a freshman, he had been buried in his cultivation and hadn't participated in the hunting war, let alone achieved such a result. "You're Luoli, right?" MOU's gaze suddenly shifted to Luoli, who had been quietly following Chen. His eyes lingered for a moment on the Luo Shan, sword tightly held in her delicate hand. "Yes," Luoli nodded slightly. She seemed to notice MOU's attention to the sword, and her brows furrowed ever so slightly. "Heh, I've seen that sword in your father's hands before," MOU said, his expression turning slightly complicated. The group was momentarily taken aback by his words. Luoli, too, looked surprised. MOU had met her father? It seemed he knew more about her identity than she had expected. Chen was also somewhat taken aback, but it wasn't entirely surprising. As one of the heavenly seat elders of Northern Desolation Spiritual Academy, MOU likely had some knowledge of Luo Li's background, though he hadn't expected him to have met her father. "I met your father once during my travels," MOU said, his voice tinged with a hint of sadness. "He once saved my life, but I never got the chance to repay him." Luoli fell silent. She had no knowledge of these events. The atmosphere grew heavy for a moment. It was the first time Linzheng and the others had seen MOU show such an expression, and they didn't know how to respond. But MOU quickly recovered, waving his hand. "All right, since everyone's here, let's begin the spirit light baptism." He flicked his hand, and 3 elderly figures walked out from the main hall. These 3 were elders of Northern Desolation Spiritual Academy, but clearly, their status wasn't as high as MOU's. "These 3 elders will personally oversee your spirit light baptism," MOU announced. Then, turning to Luoli, he added, "Little girl, I'll personally conduct your spirit light baptism." At this, Linzheng and the others gasped in surprise. MOU was going to personally oversee a student's spirit light baptism? That was unprecedented in recent years. The stronger the person performing the baptism, the greater the benefits for the recipient. As one of the 5 heavenly seed elders, MOU was clearly among the strongest in the academy. Luoli hesitated for a moment, but then nodded lightly after receiving a reassuring nod from Chen. Then, "I'll trouble Hall Master MOU." MOU waved his hand dismissively. "Just consider it repaying a favor. It's the least I can do." Chen and the others nodded, about to leave when suddenly, a feeble, aged voice slowly echoed in their ears. "Wait." The unexpected voice made everyone pause in surprise. They looked up and saw a frail old man sitting cross-legged on a stone pillar in front of the massive black hall. The old man wore a tattered robe, his bald head completely hairless, and his eyes always seemed too weary, drooping as if he had never had enough to eat. Chen was taken aback upon seeing the bald old man. This was the same person he had encountered in the Thunder Domain, the one who had given him the Thunder God Body technique. Xin Songxing and Li Xiantong were also equally surprised, as they too had encountered this mysterious bald old man in the Thunder Domain. Mou also recognized the bald old man. Her expression immediately turned serious as she quickly bowed respectfully and said, "Lord Baiming." Seeing her attitude, everyone was stunned. In the Northern Song Spiritual Academy, there was actually someone who could make Mou show such respect? Who exactly was this bald old man? Lord Baiming? Xin Songxing and Lin Zheng furrowed their brows and thought for a moment. Then their expressions suddenly changed as they whispered in shock. Could it be the guardian beast of our Northern Song Spiritual Academy, the Baiming Dragon Kuan? In this academy, aside from the Grand Song Academy headmaster, the only being who could command such respect from Mou was the Baiming Dragon Kuan, a legendary creature known for rarely showing itself. Mu Chun was shaken. He looked at the frail, bald old man, finding it hard to connect the old man's appearance with the powerful beast capable of shaking the heavens. The old man on the stone pillar waved his hand. In an instant, he appeared right in front of Mu Chun and the others. The speed was so fast, it made Mu Chun's eyelids twitch. The old man waved at Mou. Then his gaze swept over Mu Chun and the others, finally resting on Mu Chun. Senior. Mu Chun felt uneasy under the old man's gaze. The bald old man ignored him, instead examining him with an odd look in his eyes. After a moment, he slowly spoke. "I heard you absorbed the Black Divine Thunder?" When Mu Chun heard this, he was momentarily stunned. After a brief hesitation, he nodded and replied, "I was fortunate enough to absorb a bolt of Black Divine Thunder, turning it into a thunder bead and drawing it into my body. During the hunting war, I detonated the bead to fight with Senior Gu." Gu Tianyan, standing to the side, seemed to understand. He now knew why Mu Chun, despite being at the heaven transformation stage, was able to unleash such terrifying power. But then, he looked at Mu Chun with a strange expression. This guy was really something. How could he have dared to detonate Black Divine Thunder within his body? That kind of power was something even supreme powerhouses avoided. Moreover, Mu Chun had survived the explosion. It was both bizarre and impressive. His vitality was simply too strong. The old man's murky eyes flashed with a glint. He extended his withered hand and lifted Mu Chen's sleeve. A black light passed over Mu Chen's arm, and a few black streaks appeared on his skin, writhing beneath the surface with an unsettling energy. "What's this?" Mu Chun was shocked, his expression changing. "Thunder poison," the bald old man said nonchalantly. "The Black Divine Thunder is a tribulation that spiritual beasts endure when they transform into spirit beasts. It has destructive power, but also contains a strange poison. You wouldn't feel it yourself, but over time, the poison will slowly erode your body. If it doesn't explode, it will remain dormant. But if it does, your body will suddenly disintegrate into dust." Mu Chen's face turned pale. Cold sweat began to bead on his forehead, and Luo Li's glazed eyes flickered with panic as she anxiously looked at him. Mou, Xin Songxing, and the others also looked worried. They hadn't expected that Mu Chun was carrying such a dangerous threat within him. "Senior, please help him." Luo Li could no longer maintain her usual silence. Her voice was filled with urgency, making Li Xiantong, who stood beside her, look somewhat conflicted as he slightly turned his head away. "Why should I help him?" The bald old man withdrew his withered palm and spoke slowly, his tone carrying a hint of eccentricity. "This is all his own doing. Did he really think he could withstand the Black Divine Thunder? And he even dared to detonate it inside his body? The fact that he's still alive is already sheer luck." Luo Li bit down on her silver teeth and said, "If you help him remove the thunder poison, I will compensate you." The bald old man lazily glanced at Luo Li and replied, "The only thing on you that catches my eye is that sword in your hand. If Senior desires it, I can offer this sword as payment," Luo Li said, biting her crimson lips. At these words, Li Xuantong's expression changed, while Xin Songxing leaned in and whispered, "You really have no chance now." The bald old man was momentarily taken aback. Even supreme powerhouses would be tempted by this sword, yet Luo Li was willing to part with it as compensation. That truly surprised him. He could tell that Luo Li fully understood the value of the sword in her hand. Lord Biming, Mo, you couldn't help but speak up. After all, he had an old connection with Luo Li's father, so he naturally had to lend a hand if he could. Mu Chen reached out and gently held Luo Li's hand, shaking his head at her before turning to the old man with a calm smile. Senior, you hold a revered position at the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy. Isn't it a bit improper to tease a young lady like this? Did I say I was joking? The bald old man smirked. Senior has always been elusive, rarely appearing before others. For you to suddenly show up today, it must have something to do with me, right? Or rather, is it because I once absorbed the black divine thunder? Mu Chen asked with a smile. The bald old man narrowed his eyes at Mu Chen. After a long pause, he chuckled. You're quite the sharp one, aren't you? Seeing the old man smile, the others finally let out a breath of relief. The North Abyss Dragon Kuan held an esteemed status within the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy, but he was also notoriously eccentric. If he truly refused to help, there would be nothing anyone could do about it. I did come here for a reason. I might need you to do me a small favor. Of course, as compensation, I'll remove the black divine thunder poison from your body, the bald old man said. The crowd was stunned. The North Abyss Dragon Kuan was an existence unmatched across the entire North Song continent. Yet, he actually needed help from Mu Chen, a mere student at the early heaven transformation stage. What does Senior need me to do? My strength is rather limited. Mu Chen frowned slightly. If even the North Abyss Dragon Kuan couldn't handle it, what could he possibly do? Just come with me first. I'll explain when the time comes. Don't worry, I won't send you on a suicide mission. The bald old man waved his hand dismissively, offering no further details. Mu Chen sighed helplessly. But, Senior, I'm currently in the middle of receiving the spirit light baptism. I'll do it for you. The bald old man shot him a glare, instantly seeing through his little scheme. Hearing this, Mu Chen finally broke into a smile. The spirit light baptism's effectiveness depended on the strength of the one conducting it. And in the entire Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy, the best possible candidate was undoubtedly the bald old man himself. He hadn't dared to hope for such a luxury at first, but now that it had landed right in his lap, he'd be a fool not to seize the opportunity. Xin Songxing, Li Xiantong, and even Lin Zheng all looked at Mu Chen with envy. To have the North Abyss Dragon Kuan personally oversee his spirit light baptism, this was unheard of at the academy. Since Mu Chen has such good fortune, he should follow Lord Biming. Mou chuckled. This boy was truly lucky, stumbling upon such a golden opportunity. Luo Li also released Mu Chen's hand, the worry in her glazed eyes slowly fading away. A smile surfaced on her stunning face as she looked at Mu Chen, who had secured such a rare chance. Then, I'll be off, Mu Chen said, waving at Luo Li. But before he could say anything more, the bald old man grabbed him, and with a ripple in space, the two vanished into thin air. As they watched Mu Chen disappear, Sun Songxing and the others couldn't help but sigh in envy. Why couldn't such fortune fall upon them? Stop sighing. If you really want this kind of opportunity, you just have to detonate the black divine thunder inside your body and survive. Feel free to give it a try. Sun Songxing and Li Xuantong's expressions changed slightly. They were joking, but they knew how many top-tier spiritual beasts, attempting to break through to the divine beast level, had been struck down by the black divine thunder tribulation, let alone triggering it within their own bodies. Just thinking about it made their scalps tingle. Only someone like Mu Chen, that freak, would do something like that. Seeing that he had scared the two of them, Mou chuckled softly and turned to enter the main hall. Luo Li quickly followed him. Forget it. It seems we're not meant for this. Let's just make do. Sun Songxing shrugged helplessly before heading toward the hall. Li Xiantong stared at Luo Li's back, letting out a sigh filled with melancholy, before finally following. When Mu Chen was grabbed by the bald old man, he felt his vision rapidly darken, and a violent wave of dizziness hit him. However, the dizziness didn't last long and quickly dissipated. All right, a faint voice of the bald old man echoed in his ears. Mu Chen then opened his eyes and was left in stunned disbelief at the scene before him. He was in a dark space. The entire space was a deep black, but what startled Mu Chen the most wasn't the darkness, but the endless black thunder sea that coiled above. Black lightning rivers descended from it, resembling countless dark water columns falling from the sky. Mu Chen stared at the black thunder sea, where massive arcs of lightning jumped around. A deep, thunderous rumble reverberated throughout the space, carrying with it an unimaginable force of nature. What is this place? Mu Chen's scalp tingled. The black thunder sea, with no visible end, was terrifying. The last layer of the thunder domain, the bald old man said casually. Mu Chen sucked in a cold breath. So this was the last layer of the thunder domain? No wonder it had such terrifying thunder power. Compared to this place, even the seventh layer of the thunder domain felt insignificant. Feel carefully. Does it seem like there's some familiar fluctuation over there? The bald old man grinned, pointing at the endless black thunder sea. Mu Chen focused and sensed for a long time. His face turned pale as he said in shock, Is that the fluctuation of the black divine thunder? In the black thunder sea, Mu Chen could sense the presence of the black divine thunder. The black divine thunder was hidden in that sea. This scene was almost more terrifying than the day when the nine-nether sparrow underwent its tribulation. Who would have thought that in this final layer of the thunder domain, so much black divine thunder was lurking? In the other layers of the thunder domain, the thunder power is all dissipated from here. The bald old man smiled and said. Mu Chen remained speechless, his heart filled with shock. Senior, why did you bring me here? What exactly do you want me to do? Mu Chen couldn't help but feel a bit anxious. This place was too terrifying. Even a single strike of the black divine thunder could reduce him to ashes. He couldn't figure out how he could help the North Abyss Dragon Kuin in such a place. The bald old man rubbed his withered, bony hand, a smile appearing on his dry face. But that smile sent a chill down Mu Chen's spine, filling him with unease. The bald old man extended his finger, pointing at the endless black thunder sea that stretched across the space. His laughter echoed.